drunk tourist in a Make America Great Again cap grabbed a Queen's Guardsman's rifle, thinking it was all for fun, but the Guardsman's sharp reaction stunned the crowd. What happened next was a lesson the tourist would never forget. Let's begin. But before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We share the untold stories, secrets, and traditions of the British Guards every day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. On a crisp afternoon outside Buckingham Palace, the Queen's Guardsman stood as an emblem of discipline and tradition. His red uniform was immaculate, his towering bearskin hat unmoving, and the rifle in his grip an extension of his stoic presence. Around him, the usual chaos unfolded. Tourists jostling for photos, kids laughing, and the occasional brave soul attempting to make him flinch. It was a scene of predictable pandemonium, but today, chaos had a name: Todd. Todd, a middle-aged American with a bloated red face and a belly spilling out of his cargo shorts, made his entrance like a bull stumbling into a china shop. His Hawaiian shirt, half-buttoned and stained with what looked like mustard, flapped in the breeze as he adjusted the Make America Great Again cap perched on his messy blonde hair. In his hand, a half-empty bottle of whiskey swayed dangerously, like a ticking time bomb of bad decisions. "Hey, folks," he bellowed, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Watch this. I'll get this guy to crack. Ain't no way he's real." The crowd turned, phones snapping to attention like soldiers in a drill. Gasps rippled through the air as Todd staggered toward the Guardsman, his steps uneven but his confidence absurdly unshaken. The Guardsman, of course, didn't flinch. His face was a mask of professional indifference, but inside, a familiar thought surfaced. Another one. Why is it always an American? Todd swayed closer, whiskey sloshing dangerously. "Come on, buddy. Loosen up. You need a drink, man." He waved the bottle near the Guardsman's nose, the fumes potent enough to peel paint. The Guardsman didn't move. The crowd, however, was mesmerized, a mix of horror and amusement plastered on their faces. "You're boring, pal," Todd slurred. Then, with the theatricality of a man whose life was one long bad improv act, he pointed dramatically at the rifle. "Bet that thing's a toy. Let me see it." The air thickened. A collective intake of breath rippled through the crowd as Todd leaned closer, his greasy fingers reaching for the polished barrel. And there it was, the unspoken rule being broken in slow motion. Todd wasn't just testing patience, he was declaring war on dignity itself. The Guardsman remained motionless, but the crowd knew. This wouldn't end well for Todd, it never does. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, a tangled web of horrified whispers and barely stifled laughter. A middle-aged woman clutched her handbag, whispering to her husband, "Is he really going to do it?" Her husband muttered back, "He's American. Of course, he is." Nearby, a teenager gleefully shouted, "Get it on TikTok!" Phones shot up like a synchronized wave, all eager to capture Todd's drunken masterpiece of stupidity. Todd, emboldened by his newfound audience, basked in the attention. With all the grace of a toddler playing dress-up, he broke into a wobbly imitation of a military march. Arms flailed wildly as his feet stomped in no particular rhythm, his whiskey bottle swishing dangerously. He stopped abruptly, threw his arm in a mock salute and bellowed, "Sir! Yes, sir!" The move would have been almost impressive if he hadn't nearly toppled over mid-salute. The Guardsman didn't flinch, his composure unshaken. But inside, a thought lingered. "You've got one more move, buddy. Make it count." The crowd giggled, a mix of fascination and disbelief. It was as if Todd was performing on a stage, mistaking the Guardsman for a prop in his one-man comedy show. And, like any actor desperate for applause, he decided to take things further. "If you won't share the gun," Todd announced, puffing out his chest, "I'll help myself." With the confidence of a man who believed the world owed him entertainment, he lunged forward. His greasy fingers grazed the polished barrel of the rifle. At that exact moment, the guardsman took a single, deliberate step forward. It wasn't much, just one measured move, but it sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. Gasps filled the air. A toddler stopped mid-cry. A pigeon even seemed to pause mid-flight. Todd froze, his bravado evaporating faster than the whiskey fumes around him. His face paled as he stumbled back, stammering, "Whoa, whoa, buddy. No need to get all British on me." The crowd erupted in laughter, their phones still trained on the spectacle. But deep down, everyone knew Todd had crossed a line, and things were about to get interesting. With the precision of a professional who had faced every imaginable kind of nonsense, the guardsman's voice sliced through the air like a whip. "Step back!" The effect was instantaneous. Todd jumped so violently that his whiskey bottle nearly flew from his grip. The crowd erupted into cheers and laughter, their phones now capturing not just Todd's foolishness, but also the guardsman's rare verbal response. "Whoa, it talks!" Todd exclaimed, his slurred voice attempting to turn his shock into humor, but the nervous giggle that followed betrayed him. The power dynamic had shifted, and everyone knew it. The guardsman, his face as impassive as ever, wasn't finished. With the slightest tilt of his head, he delivered a glare that could strip paint off walls. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but the intensity was enough to make Todd visibly sweat. If the guardsman could speak at that moment, you'd imagine he'd say, "Do you really want to test me further?" Todd, desperate to salvage his dignity, raised his free hand in mock surrender. All right, no harm done, buddy. It's all in good fun." His tone was jovial, but his retreat was clumsy. Backing away, he stumbled over his untied shoelace, the inevitable playing out in slow motion. His arms flailed. The whiskey bottle slipped, and then, with a satisfying thud, Todd landed flat on his back. The whiskey splattered across his shirt, leaving a dark stain as the crowd exploded into uncontrollable laughter. A man in the front row muttered, "Karma's quick these days," while a young girl giggled, "That's what you get." From his undignified position on the ground, Todd raised a finger triumphantly, as if to declare victory. "Don't worry, y'all. I'm okay. MAGA for life." The crowd howled even louder. Phones captured every second of his humiliation, ensuring Todd's antics would live on the internet forever. Meanwhile, the guardsman resumed his post with mechanical precision, embodying the unshakable dignity Todd could only dream of. Another fool down, the guardsman thought, and the day moved on. As Todd scrambled to his feet, a police officer appeared, summoned by a concerned bystander. The officer, a stern middle-aged woman with a no-nonsense attitude, quickly assessed the situation. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises immediately," she said, her voice firm. Todd attempted to argue. "Hey, I was just joking around. This is public property, right?" The officer raised an eyebrow. "And you're publicly intoxicated while harassing a member of the Queen's Guard. Move along, or we'll have to make it official." The guardsman, meanwhile, returned to his post, his face as stoic as ever. But inside, he allowed himself a small victory. Another one bites the dust, he thought. As Todd was escorted away, the crowd broke into applause, many shouting praises at the guardsman. "He's like a statue with superpowers," one kid exclaimed. Todd's drunken escapade became an instant viral hit, with headlines mocking his behavior. Tourist grabs guardsman's rifle, ends up flat on his back. Meanwhile, the guardsman resumed his vigil, unshaken and unbothered, proving once again that professionalism always trumps chaos. If you enjoyed this story, Leave a like and let us know in the comments which guard tradition you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video.